keeping it close to the chest, not doing anything silly, making sure they get through the sets, making sure they're direct.
Can't argue with that.
Recipe to win.
Yeah, can't argue with that.
Individually, Darryl Clark with 1 try, 46 tackles, 6 tackle busts, 161 metres, so underlining what was picked out there by Wire Joe. He wanted a big performance because with his first time playing against Castings, they won a piece of silverware, and he'll have wanted a big performance there. Chris Hill 172 metres, Tom Lynham 136 metres, Jack Hughes 127 metres.
It's got to be said that any metre in those conditions is probably worth double, isn't it?
Yeah,
172 metres on a pitch like that's probably 250 in his legs. You know what I mean? On 3 or 4 days after playing, that's an amazing kind of effort, that is.
Well, there was some amazing efforts the other way as well. Ollie Holmes with a try, 43 tackles, 11 marker tackles, so he backed up 2 tough efforts over the weekend, I'd say. Junior Moore's 5 tackle plus 168 metres, Liam Watts in his debut. 10 marker tackles, so working hard in defence. 151 metres, 3 successful offloads, so he wasn't afraid to throw the ball around despite the conditions. He made 3 times as many offloads as the whole Warrington side. And Grant Millington, 112 metres there. I think Millington was one of the players guilty of overplaying his hand a little bit in this one, trying to put on dry weather moves in wetter than wet weather conditions. Moving on to Hull FC, the closest game of Easter Monday. Very exciting one. Hull FC 27, Wakefield 26, overturning an 18-8 deficit Hull FC did at half time. 11,529 in attendance for Liam Moore, the man with the whistle. What did the fans say?
So Sarah says, Sneed! A really enjoyable match. First half scoreline aside. Great to see Lytton get a game and play so well. Taylor also immense. First time I've seen Moore ref, but impressed with him. Didn't blow for everything, but was consistent with what he did call. 4 points over the Easter weekend is a great result. Bring on the Saints.
Wakey White said, good game again in poor conditions for rugby, but both sides managed to get some good passing going at times. A really even game, won by a moment of pure class from Snide. Wakey are just missing the rub of the green at the moment, and we are just falling on the wrong side of the game-changing moments. Hope we keep the faith heading into some tough games.
So AK Steel 69 says, Hull finally clinched the win with the best drop goal ever seen at the KCOM Stadium. A 50-metre plus effort from Sneed. Before that, they had presented Wakey with 3 gilt-edged Easter eggs in the form of tries from Hull errors, keeping them in the game. Maludi had a mixed debut, but Lytton did everything required in defence and looked sharp darting out of dummy half, together with a snappy pass from dummy half.
Phil Nadin said, this was not the most convincing win I've seen. Wakefield had the upper hand for most of the game, with FC putting in good defensive shift. On the other hand, they also at times looked like they didn't like the ball. Between dropping and passing to Wakefield, they just didn't look good with the ball. But they dug deep, and with 5 minutes to go, it was all square. Then up steps England's top snitch, Sneedy, and his boot. I mean, that's the only thing I've seen from this game, that 50-metre drop goal, and it was an absolutely brilliant strike, and worthy of winning any close occasion. Very exciting, and that's all I've seen.
I mean, you have to say, it's understandable that, of all the teams that had I don't know how many changes Hull made. I mean, you can look at that, but I think
they brought in Hakeem Maludi at fullback, Connor in for Tuma Varvey, and I think they probably swapped Griffin to the left centre then. First choice halves. Danny Washbrook played, Danny Houghton didn't play. Jordan Abdul came back into the side, but they didn't really, so they rested Josh Bowden, but Matthew Matongo came back in. Jez Lytton being on the bench is exciting. We've talked about Jez Lytton all season long, because everyone who watches Hull and everyone who's seen snippets of Jez Lytton is excited to see what the kid can do. And it sounds like he delivered. But yeah, so they did make some changes.
But of any team that had an excuse for being tired, coming off the derby, kind of defending with 12 men, it would make sense that early on they may have got overrun by Wakey, and obviously they deserve their half-time lead. But they just didn't give up. There's a lot to be said for grinding away and keeping your head in the game, and you can't argue with 4 points over Easter.
No.
Particularly, in the circumstances of the first game, Wakefield are no easy beats. They're a tricky team, and you can't argue with coming away with that.
Maybe one thing for Wakefield was they did change the halfback pairing up. Liam Finn was given game off, and Ryan Hampshire came in to play in the halves, and I've yet to be convinced of him in any single Super League game as a halfback. Mason Caton-Brown came in on the wing and did just fine, like he did last year.
Like he always does.
So no problems, no questions there. But both teams made changes, as you would expect. It sounds like an absolutely thrilling ding-dong affair, so well done to Hull FC for winning it. In terms of the stats, a game that set a new season high in successful goal kicks, with 10 in total, and both kickers at 100%. Now, the kicker for the Trinity was James Batchelor, the back row forward. I didn't know he was a goal kicker as well. But he rounded out a full skill set for the kid.
He obviously can.
Yeah. So I think he was 5 from 5. And the stats were actually pretty evenly split between the two sides, as a close scoreline would suggest. The only stat that had much to separate the sides was actually errors, although it was the host side, the Black and Whites, losing that 14-9. Clearly it wasn't decisive in the end outcome with Hull taking the points, but it kind of echoes back to what Phil was certainly saying in his review in particular, and the fact that errors led to the Wakefield try. So maybe Wakefield were a bit disjointed, maybe. It's just speculation. But individually, for Tuli Talanoa, 2 tries, 142 metres, 3 clean breaks. Burrito for Amo, 151 metres, 2 clean breaks. Josh Griffin, 1 try assist, 129 metres, so his strong run of form continues. And Scotty Taylor, 107 metres. For the losing Wakefield Trinity side, Bill Tupu as... We need to talk about Bill Tupu as the leading centre, even though he played on the wing in this game, the leading centre for the Dream Team at this quarter of the season stage, really, I've got to say. 2 tries, 159 metres. He's been in every week's stats roundup. Mason Cater-Brown, 2 tries, 5 tackle busts, 130 metres, 2 clean breaks on the other wing. Reece Lynn with 5 tackle busts and 153 metres. And James Batchelor, as well as his goal-kicking exploits, had 48 tackles, 11 of which were marker tackles. So that was... impressive.
You can't argue with that.
No.
I mean, as Wakefield shouldn't have got too excited about winning their first 4, they shouldn't get too despondent about losing the next 4 either. They've lost some close games, tricky conditions. You said they were kind of slightly unlucky when they came to your place and played. They were certainly they
were the second best side after 80 minutes, but they were the best side after 40 minutes without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. So
they've got things to look forward to, and they shouldn't be too downcast. I'm sure they'll bounce back.
No, what looks like a fairly routine game at Headingley. Finished Leeds 20, Salford 0 in front of 10,718 at the reduced capacity Henley Stadium. Greg Dolan was the referee. Completely new name on me. Never heard of the bloke before.
Never heard of him.
But there you go. Only one fan viewing on this one. Kind of a bit thinner on the ground with less time to get them in.
I can understand
on these
that.
games.
Yeah, so Rich Wilkinson says, a very scrappy second Easter game, as you might expect in poor conditions, but a win is a win for Leeds, especially after dropping a point at Huddersfield. To nail a team at any stage in the season is pleasing, even more so Easter. Lots of effort from a Leeds team, missing 5 frontline props. Good to see Alejski getting more game time. Well, I guess missing 5 frontline props, you don't have much of a choice, but I like Alejski. He was good at Bradford last year, so...
Yeah, he's the Polish powerhouse. He needs some sort of nickname, doesn't he? I have only seen the highlights, and all I really remember from the highlights in particular was the error by Niall Evalds that led to the second Leeds try, the Ash Hanley try.
Yes.
Now, I feel Evalds is a totally different player away from home than at home. It seems like he's so composed and on point at home.
Perhaps he likes a quiet atmosphere.
Obviously, loads of player changes. Leeds didn't actually make tons, but they did bring Ashton Golding back into the starting lineup and Matt Parcell back into the squad. And Josh Walter's got a full game pretty much from loose forward and seems to have revelled in that opportunity. So yeah, that's an interesting one. And Brett Ferris has been back in the side over Easter. For the Salford side, the main changes were leaving out their better players for the most part, other than Junior Sow and Niall Evans still playing. They left out, there's no Lee Mossop at the moment, and there's no Craig Kopchak in this one. And there was also, very crucially, I always think, for Salford, there was no Mark Flanagan. So
Flash was missing.
So wrap all that up, and I wouldn't expect them to win this game anyway. So basically, they're playing against a weak forward pack, so they just completely weaken their forward pack and think that that's going to be a recipe for success. I'm not convinced. In the stats, not a lot to say either. Leeds led the way in all the major stats, most notably 331 more metres than Salford and 3 fewer errors, and then small wins across the board, really. Individually, Josh Walters did work hard. He rewarded the place in the starting lineup with a try. 57 tackles, 16 mark tackles. They're both
heck of an effort.
Both up there for this season. Cam Smith, 45 tackles, so the young kid off the bench working really hard there. Ryan Hull, 167 metres. Brad Singleton, 117 metres. For Salford, the only people who really put up stat roundup worthy performances were defensive efforts. George Griffin with 45 tackles, Logan Tompkins with 41 tackles. I wonder if putting in that sort of hard shift for George Griffin might earn him back in favour, because he's kind of fallen out of favour this season.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to struggle to hit stat lines when you've scored a big Easter egg. I mean, they will have, when they looked at this fixtures and they saw Catalan at home and then Leeds away, I think it's pretty understandable why they tailored their squad to kind of make sure that they won the Catalan game. So it'd have been a game that they wouldn't have expected to win full strength on full strength. So I can understand why they put the team out that they did.
And they've got a
resources.
small squad, so any opportunity to rotate has to be
sort of taken.
The next game to talk about, not a lot to talk about in this one, to be honest. It was Wigan 44, Hull Kingston Rovers 6, 26-0 at half time. Just shy of 11,000 there, 10-9-7-7. Ben Thaler was the referee. He was very busy in this game. Yes, we'll get to. But just to cover a few things off, really, Sam Tompkins was back in the Wigan lineup and was very influential. Scored the first try. And then Wigan went on a 4-try burst in the last sort of 15 minutes of the first half, which completely tore the game open. And I don't think Hull Kingston Rovers touched the ball other than kickoffs between Liam Farrell's first try and Liam Farrell's second try. And in between times, George Williams scored a try, Liam Marshall scored a try. And that blew the game away. That led to the 26-0 at half-time. In the second half, it was kind of a little bit of going through the motions. Chris Atkins scored a neat individual try as the weather was really tipping down. And Liam Marshall completed his hat-trick, went on to score 4 tries. The kid does nothing but scores tries, really. You can't criticise his finishing in any way, shape or form, although one of his tries from the Sam Tompkins kick looked a little bit dodgy, I thought. But it was his second try anyway. It looked a little bit dicey, but fair play. Wigan were by far the better team. In the end, Hull KR ended up switching their left wing to their right wing to try and address the golden edge.
Well, I was just going to say that because, I mean, I've only seen the highlights, you were there, but it looked like, hang on a minute, have they spliced the same try in again here? Because all the breaks were down your left.
Yeah.
And every single try was down the left.
Yeah. And to be honest, we missed 2 tries before we scored, between Tompkins' sort of dive over from dummy half, kind of after a scrappy start to the game. We missed 2 tries then. One on the right wing, one Liam Farrell would have walked in if George Williams had picked the pass to him rather than out the back. And then it clicked. So then for 15 minutes, the golden edge was on fire. And
it was guilt. It was a guilt golden edge.
And and there you go. That was pretty much it. Nothing hugely for Hull KR. One thing I would say is Mossy Masso is an absolute joke when you're not winning games. It was just, he was messing around every time he carried the ball, every time the ball was carried towards him. No surprise in that he had multiple penalties given against him in this game. At one point, I think they whipped him off because he was at risk of probably getting a sin bin in. There was one sin bin in for Hull KR, but Wigan didn't really put the pedal to the metal there.